Um.
El Broadcasto.
Okay. Well, my my screen did something like it was about to start, and then it didn't start.
I mean, you got to figure that when we have this set up right, it's going to find a way to delay us, and then it's instantly going to work 15 minutes late.
Frustrating.
But we don't have people in chat saying they can see anything, I guess.
No, I don't. Nope.
Hmm, how strange.
Doop doop doop. Oh, okay. Some people see us.
We're live, actually, even though we're not saying anything. Oh no, we've been sitting here doing nothing.
Well, some people said that they couldn't see what was up, so I don't know.
Um, are the people who are saying that we're not
Okay.
live trolling, or are the
No.
people who are saying that we're not live trolling?
Yeah. No.
Wait,
No. Okay.
that's
No.
been
No.
the
It's.
same thing
I
twice.
think. I think we're good. Actually. I think it's. I think it's streaming.
Is it?
I think we're on.
Okay, well, that was a great first 5 minutes. Uh, hi, everybody.
Yeah. Everyone needs to refresh their browser. Apparently.
Okay. I guess there's also those ads on Twitch sometimes, right? But
I.
anyway, hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Uh,
Yeah.
Sir Valamont here, Camson over there. My name is George. His name is JP. We are devs on the Storm Wars project, lest I get the plurality wrong. And we host a stream every weekend to talk about the game, talk about some updates, talk about strategy, take questions live, and of course give out prizes. So, welcome to our stream.
Yeah, welcome, guys. We have the usual trivia lined up and some giveaways, and that's all the exciting stuff. And George now will tell you what we'll talk about, which is the not so exciting stuff.
Well, that's a great way to undermine the stream. Thanks a lot. Let's just give out prizes and leave. No, we'll be talking about a bunch of deck strategy. A lot of people have been complaining recently about it being difficult to beat imp decks and so on. So I'm going to show you some strategies for handling those things. Basically, by going into my 10 different decks that I have built, talking about how they work differently, talking about which heroes you should use in general for decks. Hopefully, we won't get sidetracked by a whole lot of live questions, which we also like taking, like we did on the last stream. But we also have a little bit of technology we're going to try out. JP, you have a sort of trivia bot or something like that. Can you explain how it works to people? I think it's more for door
Yeah.
prizes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it will just basically we'll do some random giveaways in the chat. So we'll make sure to include people either who type in a specific word, which is pretty common on Twitch, or maybe it'll just be to the whole channel, and we'll do a couple of those giveaways, just randomly selected people.
Right. So this time it'll be a little bit more the case that we do um, like door prizes and free giveaways, as you're saying, rather than just trivia. Although we will ask a couple trivia questions, right? I think
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, yeah,
little bit
exactly.
easier for us to manage the trivia reading that people have gotten the right answer rather than just doing the giveaways. But anyway, so one thing I
Yeah.
want to mention here at the top is if you are watching this stream live, if you are in the Twitch channel, first of all, if you'd like to ask us questions, type any question you want into the Twitch channel, and JP will read those out loud, and we will answer them.
Yeah, I'll try to. I'll try, and if George is on one of his monologues, which happens frequently, I'll just I'll just book the questions and try to bring them up a little bit later down in the stream. So feel free to ask away, and I'll try to keep track of all
It
that.
is a live conversation. And then the other point of fact here is that it really, really helps us out a lot if you guys follow our channel. Our Twitch channel, which is about to get 100 followers, by the way, when it reaches a certain threshold of views and of followers, we're able to then advertise the channel a little bit better. And we're going to be able to get some professional, if you want to call them streamers, to come join us and help market and advertise our game. So it will really help us grow if our social networks in general. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. In each case, it's Storm Wars Game. If you follow those networks, and in particular, if you're watching now, if you follow our channel, we'd really appreciate it. It takes you like 2 clicks. Keep in mind that usually in the past we used to only give prizes out to people who are actually following our channel, although I'm not sure we'll enforce that today. Anyhow, um, let's start talking about decks without any further ado.
Let's yeah, let's start talking and well, I'll start booking questions. There's already one question floating around from Flight Knox. I don't know if you want to start with that or just start talking about the topic of the day.
Uh, let me uh, let me introduce the topic of the day, and we can start getting to questions in a bit. But if you're collecting those, then that's good. Uh,
Yep,
so
sure.
I have 10 decks that are pre-built here, and the decks that I have built are um, specifically built for the heroes. They work well with the heroes that I'm using. They're 10 different heroes. And I just want to show these to you because I think that in each case they provide a pretty good idea of deck building, and maybe that will help some of our players. Obviously, there's a lot of the regular components of card games in Storm Wars. There are rush tactics and aggro tactics, which basically means an aggressive, constantly attacking, trying to out damage your opponent quickly tactic, which goes along with rush. There are also stall tactics. We have a means of stalling through some of the mechanics in the game. When the game runs long, if you run out of cards, you start taking damage. And in fact, if just after a certain number of turns, after 80 turns, both players start taking damage, so there's no tie that will happen if two people have stalls. So there's mechanics built in that enable you to stall in this game because you will lose if you aren't able to beat your opponent quickly enough, and so on and so forth. And each
Mm.
has sort of its valid approach. In particular, one of the more effective imp tactics are, or rather, one of the more effective rush tactics are imps, which is a certain type of unit in our game. And so I have
Mm-hmm.
a deck here called Impetuous, obviously, that has imps in it, which stars one of the demon heroes in the game. You can build this deck with a couple different heroes. So I'll show you how that works, and then I'll show you how to counter it with this other deck called Implosion, which obviously means it will kill imps.
How creative of you.
I like to think so. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's other rush strategies here. There's other slow strategies here, and what you might call defense strategies. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to cover all these things. So the first thing I'll show you quickly is that in our army screen, which is where you actually construct your deck, and we have all these different units, all these different factions full of units. So these are all the different categories of cards that you might have. And then over here on the right, I have the actual deck build where I can just click in and out cards and I can view the whole deck like so. We obviously have a lot of different heroes. Heroes are the leaders of your deck, which sort of change the way the deck works. The mechanics are pretty important, and then there's equipment that the heroes equip, which also change the mechanics of the deck. So there are many different elements here. And just taking the most basic thing to start here, let's look at the imp deck. So the imp deck that I have built is a very simple conceptual deck. It doesn't have some of the high-end cards that I would want to use simply because I'm not going to show you guys cards that very few people have yet, but we may end up with people in the community that have these cards if they collect them. It's this spell called Infernal Gate, which I'll put up on the screen here. And this is just a spell that summons imps directly to the battlefield. Imps have a tendency to work well together because there's an imp leader that basically gives all of the imps extra attack power. There's also some equipment that gives all the imps extra attack power, so they swarm and they attack well. And this spell actually gets them to the field faster because it's a single spell and it summons 2 imp units at once. So your card advantage is there for you. Use up 1 card, you get 2 units. And then you have this hero here, Sa-Ras, as he's called, who's our demonic hero, who gets a bonus for all of his troops whenever he casts a spell. So you also, using that spell, Infernal Gate will get extra bonuses just for casting it, in addition to the fact that you're swarming successfully. JP, I assume that you're being quiet because you're collecting questions.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Um,
So I don't have any of those infernal gates in this deck, but just keep in mind that that's very useful long-term imp strategy. What I have here in this deck is a Sa-Ras deck, and so therefore I have a lot of spells, a lot of different spells here, and a whole bunch of imps. This is probably not the most effective or the fastest imp rush that you'll get. The fastest and most effective imp rushes, most players will tell you, are probably using either Sa-Ras or Zoo. Zoo is the other demon hero that tends to run imps. She draws extra cards basically once in a while. That enables her to rush better, obviously. Um, but most players will tell you want to use one of those heroes and just pure imps. Lots of really fast little imps. This is a little bit of a variation, but I'm going to run this deck and show you how it works. So once again, a lot of different spells, taking advantage of Sa-Ras's inherent ability that he gives his troops a bonus every time he casts a spell, in addition to the spell, and then a whole bunch of imps.
So George, well, actually, I'll interject really quickly, just for anyone new in the stream. I'm kind of managing the chat and taking down some questions, which we'll get to in a little bit. After we're done talking about this imp deck topic. So if you do have questions, just note them down in the chat, and I'll pick them up, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. One question for you, George, which is on topic though. Do you think that Saras and Zoo are equally potent as Rush deck champions, or which one would you prefer over the other?
Well, Zoo is much easier to use, and she has a very consistent basic mechanic, which is to draw an extra card every 4 turns. And that might not sound like a big deal, but it really helps you rush a lot. She also has a direct attack. She hits an enemy with a fire spell. So she's probably the easier to use, and she's probably the more general to use. I use her in a deck that I just call Zoo Rush, which just means it's a rush starring
Mm-hmm.
her. And it just has a lot of fast cards in it. So I can use that in a lot of different instances, and I will show you that deck a little bit later because it has something very specific about it that's
Mm-hmm.
worth covering. But I think that Saras is probably the more powerful of the two heroes in terms of potential when it comes to rush decks, because the fact that
Yeah.
every time he casts a spell, he also gets an additional bonus lets him really pile up the bonuses, and you can cast a lot of really fast spells. The problem with him is you really have to have the right cards to run him. Spells tend to be a little bit harder to come by. They're a little bit harder to find. A lot of them are sort of epic level or better. So
Is
you need
uh
specific
is
cards
is
for him.
is Saras finalized as a champion, or is there still you guys still tweaking him?
Yeah, we haven't removed the beta tag from him yet, and maybe we should do that. I guess we'll look at that more closely. The reason it's been on there is because the spell metagame has been evolving continuously, and we've been introducing a lot more spells recently in the most recent expansion. So we wanted to give it a little bit of space for people to test out that deck before we decided whether it was overpowered or not, and whether we needed to adjust the hero significantly. I
Hmm.
am going to actually start playing the Saras deck in the background. It's an imp deck. I don't particularly want to play against Kiri because that's probably also a rush, and obviously rush decks are effective against non-rush decks. So I'll play against a slower hero here. This is Luther, who's a very, very powerful hero, but he's a slow one.
So just to stay on the topic of Saras, are there any kind of properties that you're thinking of adding to him or taking away, and when do you think that'll be finalized?
Um, I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of toning up or down his power
Okay,
if he is too
just
strong. Yeah.
scaling on the
I think he's
existing.
probably pretty safe to not be changed for a while, to be honest. So maybe we'll
Okay,
remove that beta tag because we've done quite a bit of testing with him. I wanted to interject
okay.
here actually that before I start, I failed the cover, which was stupid of me. That when you design a deck, the first thing you do is you choose your hero, but then you also choose the equipment you want to put alongside the hero. I have two of these Greater Imp Charms. These are very, very popular, and this is basically one of the central cards for an Imp deck. Excuse me while I cough. We'll edit that out. Anyway, I have two of these Imp Lord charms, and they basically add to your starting hand a couple of these Imp Lords, which are central cards in an Imp strategy. So watch what happens when I play. I start with 3 cards in my hand. 2 of them are these Imp Lords. And you can see all allied imps gain +1 attack power while this unit is in play. So this is sort of one of the central cards of this rush. This is a strategy that a lot of people are using. Again, because that's a fairly slow hero. You can see he doesn't have a lot of cards out yet, and I'm already just wailing on him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically how an imp strategy works. Now, uh, as we all know, rushes are very popular. And rushes are popular for many reasons, but the two main reasons rushes are popular are because they're easy to use. People understand the concept. They're very easy to use. They're generally easy to acquire because fast cards tend to be cheap cards, tend to be common cards. They're easy to use because, quite frankly, they don't take a lot of thinking. So that makes them popular. And then there's one other reason they tend to be very popular, which is that you can use them quickly because they're rushes. I'll play one more in the background here, and then I'll talk
So
about countering
here's
this
a
deck. So when you can play quickly, it means
here's
you
a
can grind
relevant
better. Yeah.
question on topic, George. You changed the Imp Lord as cards and not instant cards. Is that staying or under test or being tested by a Boolean leader?
Oh yeah, we originally had those be instant summons, and now we have them start in your hand. I think the mechanic of starting in your hand is better, just because it's less overpowered, frankly. So I expect that we'll probably keep it that way, honestly. Now I'm actually losing this battle for the simple reason that I happen to run up against first of all, a pretty unlucky start in terms of my hand, but also because I'm running up against a rather atypical deck. This is usually a slow hero, but he's drawn at least nothing but fast, small cards in the beginning. So he countered my rush with another rush. And that generally will happen in this and other games. So obviously there's no
Hmm.
one strategy that always wins, but imps can be pretty strong. And then, of course, we have the fact that you choose your matchup as an attacker in this game because you see the enemy's hero, so you generally will have a leg up. Anyway, let's talk about how to beat this imp rush. But maybe before we do that, do we want to sort of venture our way into either some questions or some trivia?
Yeah, well, I think we could do our first trivia, to be honest, and then maybe while we do that, or kind of in parallel, we can answer some of the questions that have been piling up.
Okay.
Which shall we do first? Answer a couple questions or give away stuff?
Well, does your door prize thing work so that you have a list of all the players in the chat and you can randomly choose somebody?
Yeah, I think that's how it works. We can just do a random roll for everyone, and I will say that people that are subscribed to the channel, I've set it so that they're twice as likely to win a prize. So if you haven't done so, do
Oh, you've
subscribe.
set it so that
We'll-
people who have followed our channel are twice as
Right,
likely to win. Okay, it's good that
right,
you have that
right.
setting. Cool.
Okay, yeah. We can make it even more likely. We
No,
can
no, no,
make it
no.
like
Twice
three
as
times.
likely is fine. So take a moment to follow our channel and you'll have a better chance at this prize. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play the good old what's in the box.
All right.
So let's see here. I have an epic equipment box right here. See that? And what you should do is you should choose somebody randomly in the chat who gets, what should they get? They can either get, I don't know, 25 gems, or they can get what's
Or
in the box.
what's in the box?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So guys,
We'll open the box
like George
live.
said, yeah, yeah. Well, like George said, if you haven't subscribed, you should probably do that now. I'll be rolling in just a little bit.
Okay, maybe we'll take one user question first, or is there a
Sure.
topic at
All right.
hand?
So there is a topic, but maybe I shouldn't ask one which has a really long answer. So let's see.
That's inevitable, but I'll be
Yeah.
fast. I'm going to pull up my anti-imp deck in the meantime in the background here, by the way.
All right, so here's a question from Putty. After seeing huge nerfs to stuff like Aggro Potion and Magic Mirror, would it be possible to implement all new equipments and make them available immediately to everyone for like a week, then balance them properly, remove them for everyone, and then implement them into the game as tournament rewards and in the shop? That was a long
That
question.
that's oh brother, that type of first of all, it takes a lot of effort to do things like that because manually editing everybody's account or building a tool to do that is no small task.
Okay.
Messing with messing with basically our database that way. But putting that aside, I think that the larger issue with that is that I don't know that people really enjoy um, being able to try everything and use everything. I mean, I love card games. When you're a card game dev and you're a dev on your own game, you obviously have a different relationship with your game than as a player. But in general, if you have God mode, I don't know if you guys remember this from older games where they
Mhm.
had God mode in the past, but once you have God mode in a game, the game becomes less fun. I mean, a lot of the game has to do with discovery and finding a new item or a new card or a new equipment, and then being able to use it for the first time, being able to deck build around it. So I totally understand the question.
So yeah, so I
Basically,
get it. It
he's
kind of
saying he does, it's annoying for us to nerf
I'm gonna
things. I
I'm
agree.
gonna summarize what I think George is what you're saying is one, it's very difficult to implement, and two, you don't even know if you'd rather implement it or not because it kind of takes away the fun of getting something for the first time and using it for the first time
Yeah,
in the
I
actual
mean,
game.
that's sort of what we trade on as a card game. There are different types of games. This is a game with where people collect things gradually, and uh,
Yeah.
I don't want to undermine that. It's an
All right.
interesting
Look,
idea. We do have a
I'm
test server, and we occasionally invite players to it to test things.
okay. I'm gonna let you finish, but we're gonna roll now. So okay, everyone had a chance to subscribe. So here we go, rolling. All
So
right, that was
you
very
have a random winner now.
that was instantaneous. The winner is Gurbut, Gurbut.
Gorbut.
So
Okay, fine. Congratulations, sir. Now you will have to tell us in the chat. Do you want 25 gems or do you want what's in the box? I will open the box after you answer the question. What do you want? Gems or what's in the box? Gems or box? What do you think, JP?
yeah, Gurbut, type in gems or bucks and
Or type in nothing and we'll have to choose someone else. No, I'm kidding. Actually, am I kidding?
oh, he logged out. Okay.
He logged out.
Yeah, he just typed in a little while ago that he had to log out. Okay, so he's not, I guess he's not in the
JP, you
chat.
have screwed everything up. All right. Well, roll again.
Okay, okay, okay,
Get
okay.
another winner.
We'll roll again.
I
We'll
want to
roll
talk about
again.
my Auburn deck. Hurry up.
How do I? Okay, let's go. Let's go. We'll roll again.
Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Music playing in the background.
All right. So, just to make sure that you guys are. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna. I saw that. I saw that. All right. We're rolling again. Ready? All right.
I've been ready.
Three, two, one. All right.
Drum
The winner is
roll.
Putsy.
Putsy.
The winner is Putsy.
Congratulations, Putsy. Now, do you want 25 gems or what's in the box? What's in the box? Do you want what's in the box?
All right.
Not
So
that I'm
yeah,
trying to
type
influence you.
box or gems. Box or gems. Obviously, everyone wants you to take the box.
Open the box. It could be a legendary equipment. You never know.
Yeah. Or you could get legendary gems. I mean.
What are you
All right.
talking about? Don't say things that aren't true. Legendary
So
gems.
he picked Buck. So let's do
All
it.
right,
Let's
you
do the
ready?
kill.
All right, let's see what's in the
Yeah.
box. We have to make our own sound effects since there is no sound in the game. A repair gizmo. Well, obviously the best epic equipment there is. Every other turn, this repairs the most damaged allied machine for 2 and removes its status effects, except for cursed. I don't know why it says except for cursed. I think it probably should remove that too. Anyway, well, whatever. Congratulations, a repair gizmo. We will send you a repair gizmo, Putsy. Thank you for playing. Is he thrilled with this outcome?
I haven't seen the response yet.
What are you being stuck on? I'm actually going to replace that with another one of these right here.
All right, let's get to another question. I'll toss in a question. So there were two people that were interested in this around the topic of arena scores. So arena score have been rising every week now. Is there any plans to fix that?
Yeah,
Another version of that question is,
yeah. Well,
um,
we have a fix coming for that today. It's just a
okay,
flaw in our game's logic where, if there's a certain gap of players above you in the ELO ranking, it won't
uh-huh.
give them as optional opponents, and so it creates more and more gapping, and we'll fix that. Sorry about that. That won't be live until after the end of the arena season, but that'll be fixed today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I can continue with the questions actually. Here's a question. This one should be an easy one for you. What's and actually an open-ended one. What's a good Hylock deck? This is from Raphael. I think he's a relatively new or newer
A good
player.
Hylock
What's a good
deck.
Hylock deck? I bought him and had lots of trouble with him. Having less trouble now thanks to an epic EQ that I won. Still, what's a good Hylock deck?
Okay, well, that's not the topic that I wanted to get into about how to beat imps, but we can talk about that shortly. Well, Hylock is a hero that does have remedy, and he does have random debuffs and random magic damage. So he's a very well-rounded hero, is a good way of putting it.
Mm.
He can handle a lot of things. I think that the sort of short answer to that question is he's not really that on theme. So what you want fast and strong cards. I mean, basically, the more advanced your card set is, the better Hylock decks you can build. That's sort of true in general, obviously in the game, but um, there are certain cards that work very well with him. Don't forget there's a morale bonus where if you are using a card that is the same faction as your hero, he gets an extra life point. So there's certain cards that are very, very good with Hylock, like all the good Dark Elf cards like Alara and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Hylock is not an easy hero to just have. He's not very polar. There isn't one specific deck for him. He's not actually in my 10 heroes listed because he's an all-rounder. So there's no
Okay.
reason to
To have.
specifically point him out. I'm going
Right.
to assign this Saras deck as my defense here, merely for the reason that I can then play against it.
Okay. I have another really quick question. This is from a Boolean leader. Are you going to have flash sales on cards, pack, or equipment boxes?
Um, I don't know about flash sales. Flash sales are a very, relatively new concept. I think that we'll definitely have different types of offers and new types of offers in the game shop. We have some advisors who are professionals at marketing and the whole gamut. So they will
Mm-hmm.
probably talk to us about those kinds of things. I mean, I have nothing against flash sales. The problem for me with flash sales is that I think flash sales have to exist in a context where you have a large store with a lot of options. And we sort of
Mm-hmm.
have that. But it's pretty annoying when a very good deal comes on a flash sale and then a lot of people miss it. I mean, we like to give people opportunity to buy.
Right.
But I understand the concept. It's a little bit, to me, it's also a little bit sometimes a tactic of like maybe making an offer that seems better than it is, but isn't really that great. I don't know. If people want that, we can certainly do it.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're looking at my Saras deck here, which we just used with all these imps, all the spells, and the two imp charms here. And I'm going to duel him with this Auburn deck. And this hero, Auburn, that I have, he's generally pretty weak against the average card, but he has this skill called Sandstorm, which does extra damage. First of all, it hits all the enemy units, and it does extra damage against fast enemy units. So anything that has 5 speed or is faster will take extra damage, will take 3 damage. So he's going to be hitting everything, and at the same time, I have a couple of equipments here which uh, cause a status effect to all creatures when they enter play. So, for example, all friendly and enemy units are poisoned when entering play, the poison file equipment. And this Pyroviter does the same thing but burns everything on entering play. So using this combination of things, I think that, and using very fast cards that also happen to be elves so that they get the extra attack bonus, or rather life bonus that Auburn has, I think that I'll be able to actually take this down if I don't die first. Oh, yeah, great. I hit for 1 twice. It's on the RNG there. Well, that's great.
Auburn. Well, one of my favorite questions in
I
chat.
lost.
Auburn is a dude? Question mark.
Yeah,
Question mark. Question mark.
yeah, he is. Obviously, I've not built this deck very well since it didn't just win in the counter, but I'm gonna play it again. Suffice it to say, this is the genetics of how you create an anti-imp deck, and it generally works if you build it well, which I've obviously failed to do. I've probably used the wrong units. I also had Sela hit 2 units for 1 each when they each had 2 hit points, and would have won the match if she hadn't done that. That was pretty unlucky. Yeah, Auburn is a dude. You can read the flavored text to find out these sorts of things.
Will there be more stuff to buy for gold anytime soon? I feel like this question comes up a lot, like once every stream at least.
I don't know about anytime soon, but that is in our plans, and we are going to do that eventually. The other reason, by the way, I lost is because my Auburn is only on level 20, so he would have a lot more life if I had gotten him to level 30. Auburn
And
actually advances slowly in life.
maybe change your equipment is another
No,
suggestion.
change my equipment is a bad suggestion. These are excellent equipments for anti-imp, because if all imps enter played both poisoned and on fire, they'll be losing 2 life every single turn. And Auburn, because he has restoration, cures all the status effects on my own team every turn as well. That's his other ability. So I don't have any of the disadvantage of Poison Fowler or Pyroviter. In fact, these two things in concert with Auburn, it's very difficult to lose against an imp deck. It's impressive that I did. I hope everybody's impressed.
Really? What about I admit to not having played in a little while, but I used to beat imp decks with kind of spider people, paralyzed, stall
Oh yeah,
type
there are a
decks.
lot of ways to beat imps. This is just one that a lot of people don't know about, so I like to show it to them.
Okay, fair enough. What about some trivia?
What about some trivia? JP, do you have some
What
trivia
about
lined
it?
up?
I do. I do. Shall we do first 3 right answers gets the prize?
Okay, if you like.
Okay. Okay. What is the prize?
You were asking me.
Well, I have the question lined up, but what should the prize be?
I guess the prize should be uh, 25 gems per person who gets it right.
25 gems. All right, so 25 gems per person that gets it right, and the first 3 people to answer correctly are the ones that will get the prize. All right, so everybody ready? The question is, it's actually quite an easy one, I think, but which faction has the most cards? Go.
That is a good question. Now, do you want people to type out the proper name of the faction rather than
Yeah,
something
type
abbreviated?
in,
Type in the whole
just
name.
type in the whole name. I mean, I'm not gonna if I know what that you're trying to say the right answer, like I'm not gonna.
So it has the most cards, the most different cards. It's true that they're
Right.
not all exactly the same. Incidentally, I have this one deck that people have seen on streams before, and they keep asking me what it is. It's called Dim Sum. And they're always like, why do you have a deck called Dim Sum? And the obvious answer is because it's an anti-summoning deck. So it's Dim Sum, like it dims a summoner.
Oh, okay, okay, I get it. I get it.
So hopefully we can find a Mariel deck somewhere in the arena or somewhere, so that we can beat it up.
So
Mouse back.
the reason why I haven't announced winners is because I haven't seen 3 people say the right answer yet. By the way, guys,
So the question was name the faction, right?
the faction, yeah.
And there only are 6 factions, so you could probably get a prize by naming some factions into the chat. We seriously don't have 3 people who got the question right? This is ridiculous. This has never happened
I'm
before.
I'm not gonna comment because I don't want to give anything away.
All right, well, I'm going to be refreshing my arena here until I find an Amariel. God forbid somebody actually use her as a hero. One might ask the question, what is the use of having an anti-Amariel deck if no one ever uses her?
All right.
There
So
she is.
what is the right answer, George? Because I think I've seen it. So why don't you announce the right answer?
I think the answer is Spider People. I think they have more overall
That's
cards than everything else.
that's what I have as well.
Do you have
Spider
three
people.
winners?
So I have 3 people that have said spider people. Putsy, you're the first person. Akrat is the second person, and Jack Arbiter is the third.
Okay, guys, and
And
so make
I will
sure.
accept spider people because I know what you were trying to
Yeah,
type.
make sure that you type into the chat what your actual handle is, what your actual username is on Storm Wars, so that JP knows how to assign the prizes properly. And incidentally, if we're asking trivia of this type, you may want to check out this document here called the SWAG, the Storm Wars Analytics Guide, which is linked to all over the place. JP will probably type the link into the chat right now. It's basically the best place that you can go to get this type of information. Um, if you had this open while you were trying to answer trivia, you probably could have figured that out just by running a little filter or a little search. Anyway,
Right. Yeah. Let me put that in the chat so you
do
guys
you
have it.
know the do you know the link by heart, JP?
No, but it's in my browser history, so you know.
Okay. So I'm fighting an Amariel deck here, a Amariel deck using two legendary equipments. Legendary equipments are pretty strong. These magic mirrors clone things. And this is going to be a rush deck that summons tons of elementals. Amariel is a hero whose skill is she gets to summon extra units every other turn, little elemental guys. So I'm using an area damage hero with Anasi, who is one of our spider people, speaking of spider people, heroes. And I built this deck a heck of a long time ago, even before there was equipments, and I sort of gave him some random equipments. That's not really the point of the deck. The point is that the area damage and the cards within this deck that tend to be resistant to magic are really perfect for taking down elementals. So the only concept that I'm trying to share here is that when you're facing sort of spam tactics, you want to use area damage. And I have a feeling that this will work fine. Also, mostly wanted to show people that dim sum was a good name and meant something. Obviously, fighting against nothing but Nivens is problematic. This person's supposed to have a. Oh, great! Now I'm going to lose. Oh, our wonderful live stream about deck strategy in which I lose every fight. I
George,
know. Oh,
George,
brother.
George.
Of course, that person didn't really have an elemental deck. That person had a Niven deck. But we'll have our revenge shortly.
Should we do a random giveaway every time you lose?
No, then people are going to cheer against me. This is ridiculous. Uh,
Like it'll be like a punishment
that'll be a
for not
punishment.
being very smart.
Well, maybe it'll be a punishment for I should have gone in and edited this deck a little bit beforehand. Also, I don't know what happened. I think some of the cards fell out of this deck somehow. There should be a lot more of these manivores in here if I'm going to be beating up on a Mariel. I guess we could try to deck build this right now.
I love manivores. They're some of my
Well,
favorites.
they're pretty overpowered. Let's be honest. I don't know about
Hmm.
overpowered, but they're pretty strong.
They're good.
You know what? I'm gonna change gears here and select a different type of rush. This is a wolf deck. Actually, you know what? We did wolf decks last week, but I'll show it to you quickly. They have an ability called Wolf Pack, which stacks with itself. So every wolf that comes out gives power to each every other wolf that comes out. And basically, all you have to do is put a whole bunch of wolves in a deck, put them with Kiri, who's the best hero for wolves, and you've got a rush. Um, but I will actually go fight somebody with that deck right now. JP, what other questions do we have from the chat?
Well, just so I don't have to actually type this out, but one of the questions from Festus is, what's the unit hero morale synergy system? And I guess that's referring to the fact that using units of the same faction as your hero gives them a +1 to their health, to their defense.
Exactly, and it should be pointed out that it's not always the case that you should do that. An example of that is the deck I'm using, actually, which
Hmm.
has a non-elf hero running what are essentially elf cards. In other words, wolves. And the reason for that is just because Kiri works best with wolves. Her advantage is so big that you shouldn't actually use wolves.
Right,
You
right.
shouldn't actually use wolves with an elf hero. She basically gives an extra buff to every single wolf that you have in play, and then also increases their attack and defense every turn. I lost this fight because this guy is using a rush tactic with a slow hero, so I wasn't able to outrush him. He got a rabbit out early. That was
Why? A
pretty
question
annoying.
from Captain Thunderwalker is, why were you using Anasi against Niven spam?
I didn't
What?
intend
Are
to
you
use. I
crazy?
didn't intend to use a nasty against Niven spam. I intended to use a nasty against Elemental, and then the person had nothing but Nivens in his deck. Um, if I wanted to beat a Niven spam deck, I would just throw a lot of Painters in there. Painter of Winds is a card that is anti-aerial attack.
Anti-range.
Glasha is a hero
Anti-range.
that's anti-aerial attack. Those cards in concert would beat a Niven deck fairly easily. Obviously, I'm not getting very lucky. Basically, just losing to everybody. Oops. In any event,
Let's see. Another question. Can we still get the alt card backs, the alternative card backs?
that's a limited offer that we occasionally reoffer. So yes, you will be able to get that relatively soon. Probably when we launch for iOS, we'll re-release that, um,
Hmm.
and that'll be available in the shop and should be easy to unlock. We can talk about coming up with some other aesthetics beyond the existing choices if people are interested in alt card backs in general. Anyhow, this is dragging on because my decks are proving to suck. So,
Yeah. Captain Thunderwalker says no. Nobody uses a Mario like that anymore. And wolf decks suck is the general
well, that's very
consensus.
nice of everybody. But keep in mind that there are a lot of players who are starting the game out and who aren't at the top of the metagame, and these topics are relevant for them. But okay, all right, fine. If you want to take that approach, maybe we should answer with some trivia.
All right, I do have another bit of trivia lined up. So same, I think same deal, but do we want to change the prize up this time?
Um, maybe we should give another door prize out, actually.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, we could do that. So for anyone that wasn't here for the last one, we're gonna just do a random. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a keyword, so everyone has to type the keyword to enter.
Okay.
And so it's actually let's see if this works. I haven't done
All
it yet,
right.
but all right. So
Drum roll.
the keyword is
Is it a?
who is the answer to the question who is more awesome, George or JP? So so type the answer to that
Am I
question,
allowed to not give a prize for this?
and that and that is the keyword.
So
And
if
once you've typed that
anybody
in,
if anybody types
you'll
that
be
in,
eligible for a prize.
uh,
Okay, yeah, Festus is onto something. Okay.
so anybody who types that into chat,
I'm just gonna clarify that if you get the wrong answer, you're not gonna be eligible for the prize. So think very hard about this. George is not the right answer.
well, I'm glad that I have some kind of a supporting group here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some people think you're more awesome, even though they know that stating that means that they're not going to win. It's funny.
You've overestimated your abilities here, sir. What a
Okay,
shame.
okay, okay, okay.
What a shame.
All right, so here we go. We're rolling in five,
So the
four,
thing
three,
automatically,
two, one, rolling.
so your widget automatically will capture people
Yeah,
that have typed JP in the chat,
yeah,
basically. Oh, that's
that
interesting.
that is
Okay.
correct. Right. So hen 91 is the answer.
Yes, and might I add, sir, how dare you? All right. Okay. So Han is the guy's name. Han, would you like
Um,
25 gems or what's in the box? What's in the box? And all you have to do is tell me whether you want 25 gems or what's in the box. Type it in the chat, and I will either open the box or I'll give you 25 gems.
yeah. So
It would be great if the game sound worked, wouldn't it? That's just my setup. It basically works on every single person who's ever used this game's computer, other than my particular setup for live streaming. It's really pretty irritating.
all right. So hen wants the box,
What's in the
and
box? All right,
yeah.
let's see what's in the box. Maybe it's going to be another repair gizmo. Let's go.
Well, Jack Arbiter it seems to think that 100% another repair rod.
It's a dragon banner. This is a good card for dragon decks. obviously. It gives 2 life to all types of dragons. Congratulations. Enjoy your new dragon banner. I certainly will
All
enjoy
right,
mine.
cool. And we've noted your in-game name. It's HenR, so you'll get that. You'll get that sorted after the stream is over. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Uh,
It's not a trap. These are honest boxes. I obviously would have made them awesome if it was a cheat. Uh, in any event. Okay.
cool.
So let's look at the standard Luther deck now, which is um, something that people use a lot of. If we're playing against a fairly standard hero that has a standard attack, in other words, not an area attack, here Luther continues to be one of the better heroes in the game because he can protect one of his units every turn, and if you can manage to get him to protect the unit that the opposing hero is attacking.
Wait, is that George?
Yeah,
Have you been
I
kidnapped and
I have
replaced
not been
by a
kidnapped.
dumb person?
Yeah, amazing, right? I've just haven't slept much last night. The point is that if you can cancel the opposing hero's attack, you benefit quite a bit, and that happens early in matches when you have few creatures out and they're all being targeted by the enemy hero. So I tend to use Luther against, for example, Laertes, for example, Otuk. And when new players ask, what is the best hero to unlock? What is the best premium hero that costs 150 gems to unlock? This is probably the right answer. You can't really go wrong with Luther as your first choice. So keep that in mind.
Hmm.
Anyway, I think
Okay,
that for once I
that's
might actually win a battle.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't change the fact that your little trivia question was wrong, but still. Anyhow,
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything else. So these are some examples of hero decks. I may do a little write up. My God, I'm like Porky Pig today. I may do a little write up in our channel as to what these decks are, how they work, and what the theories are behind them. Maybe we can start a little conversation over here in our Congregate forums, where a lot of people like to write and participate. I may start a thread just on general hero strategies, to which you are
Hmm.
more than welcome, and anyone can participate. Shall we try a Merheen deck while we're at it?
What's a good strat to beat Luther? Is the question in the chat from Raphael again.
Well, Luther is not
Um,
very good at attack power, and he's rather slow. So the answer to that is probably a rush. Um, there are other methods, but probably a rush deck. The very first thing I did on this stream was I used a rush deck to beat a Luther defense.
mm, mm, mm,
I
mm.
used an Imp Rush.
Yeah. Although I remember George, you used to have a Luther Rush deck at one point, which would psych people out.
Specifically against Luther, yeah, actually, I would use a Mariel for that. Speaking of, nobody uses a
Well,
Mariel.
no. I think you I don't know. I think you defended with a Luther deck, which had like
Fast cards in it.
fast cards like Spider Riders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I tried that out at one point. I mean, it certainly catches people off guard because, again, the
Exactly.
attacker always chooses the matchup. So when you have a traditionally slow hero and you're using very fast cards, you have a little bit of an advantage in that you can predict how they're going to try to counter you, and you can sort of counter their counter. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Exactly.
the way that I used to counter Luther was using a Mariel. So I would have a bunch of elementals, and the trouble is now with equipment, Luther can easily have defensive cards like a shield or armor, and then elementals have
Yeah.
a really tough time getting through that. You can probably get around that by equipping a Mariel with the appropriate equipments herself. There is a Dryad Thorn, which gives all elementals attack power, but I haven't really played around with that too much. You'd want Singularity as
Question
well.
from Stratocumulus: How do you use, or how how do you rush a Luther with multiple Nivens and an Armadillo ward?
Well, Armadillo Ward is a pretty hard card to rush against in general. I would probably think that a Mariel um, and Elementals, maybe somebody can get that working again. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dryad Thorns actually kicked in.
Hmm.
Um, I have to look at that. I think you can still overpower Luther with a rush most of the time. I guess the Armadillo Ward is an issue there. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe fight fire with fire, fight a Luther with a Luther. I'm not sure. Maybe that's still just makes it 50-50.
Hmm.
Um, I do like using Mirrorheat
What do you
against
think is an acceptable success? God, I can't talk together. A
success
success rate.
rate.
Yeah. What do you think is a success rate versus a deck, so that you can consider that to be an effective deck against the one that you're trying to attack with?
Uh, I think it depends. I mean, if you're fighting at the top end of the meta, or if you're trying to fight sort of out of your league, in order to gain points in the arena, I think it's perfectly fine only to win half the time. If you
Hmm.
fight somebody
Okay.
who's sufficiently higher ranked than you, you will gain more points than you'll lose if you win versus if you lose. So, um,
Hmm.
that's maybe a good strategy or good theory. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to win more than 50% of the time if you have a real counter deck. The problem is the unpredictability of the opponent's deck and equipment because you can't see that ahead of time.
Hmm.
We do have
Okay.
a treasure called the Potion of Vision that you can use at the front end of any battle to actually scout and see the entire opposing player's deck.
Yeah, those are pretty good when you absolutely have to win the next fight.
Yeah, they're good in crew
And then
battles, for example, and things
yeah,
like
and
that.
then you can kind of custom tailor your deck to counter whatever the other person has put up.
So I've won a few
Just on
fights
the
with
previous
I've
topic,
won a few fights with Merheen because she has the heal ability, which is countering essentially uh, basically the abilities of the heroes I'm fighting. So I fought against a couple of spider heroes, and spider heroes tend to have debilitating skills. So I beat a cuter who stuns all of your creatures when they come into play because I was using a heal deck against them, and I was healing my creatures as soon as they were stunned. And I beat an Anasi deck who was poisoning all of my creatures because I was healing their poison condition. So that's a fairly useful thing to have in your arsenal. What is this
yeah.
other question you were about to ask?
No, I was gonna say just on the previous topic, a couple of people in chat have said they've tried the thorns tactic, and it doesn't really work because a lot of elementals just don't have attack power. Or it's weak to start with.
Okay, that's
Um,
true. And I actually built it that way with the intent that because that's true, we can always buff it and it won't probably become overpowered because of that lack of synergy. Um,
hmm.
some of the strongest elementals, like Quetzalcoatl, don't have attack power either. So, do people in chat think that if we made each elemental thorn give +2 attack power to all elementals, that would be overpowered, or would that actually fix the problem?
Yeah, well, open question to the chat. I mean, if you guys think that would be a way to buff it, an acceptable buff, let us know. Stratocumulus was saying that his approach to Luther was to use Mirror to take advantage of the dead equipment, not even bothering to rush.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting idea. If that works,
Yeah,
that works. I was playing sort of an anti-zoo deck with zoo there. Zoo hitting your creatures with fire. There are a few horde, meaning demon heroes that use fire as an attack tactic, and I like to use this zoo deck that I've built against them. I almost won that battle, even against a strong imp rush, but I will show you how this deck works. Basically, it's fast, small cards, and then alongside the zoo hero, so she can get a lot of them out quickly. And then at the same time, she's got a couple of these fire petals. These make your creatures fireproof. So essentially, it guards them against the ability of the enemy hero, and it works really well against Zoo to have a Zoo because you have the same card speed along with fireproof cards. It gives you a big advantage. If I were really making this more of an anti-imp deck, I would probably change some of the contents a little bit. I
mm-hmm,
think I'd
mm-hmm.
probably use maybe some more Queen Huloths. I guess I have a bunch of her because stunning really works well against imps. Anyway, I encourage everybody to try out these different strategies and keep in mind that it really affects your win rate quite a bit when you
Mm-hmm.
get the right stuff together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a quick question from Flightnox. Will the keys for Magic Lockbox be released again?
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with that. I mean, I would say hold on to them for now, and maybe we'll release keys. Maybe we'll just turn magic lockboxes into something else. I'm not sure. We've always flirted with the idea of putting something other than gold coins in them, but we discontinued that in favor in the drop tables of equipment boxes.
Hmm.
So I don't exactly know the answer to that. We haven't really thought about it. I'm open to suggestions. Uh,
Okay,
we're sort of
another quick,
inundated with
quick,
other
quick,
issues and things to worry about.
another quick question. I'm trying to get a last few in here before I got to bounce myself. But what pack has the biggest chance to get legendary cards? Dragon, Frontier, or Platinum?
To get legendary cards,
Right, in terms of drop rate.
the legendary drop rate is basically the same for all per gem for all packs. So
Okay,
um,
okay,
you're not more likely to get a legendary in dragons than in frontiers. The fact that I'll open this up and show you what I'm talking about. So these three sets here, one costing 15, one costing 25, and one costing 50 gems, the chance that you get an epic card out of a dragon pack versus a frontiers pack is higher per gem drop because the drop rates are basically the same between dragons and frontiers, except dragons are discounted by 40%
hmm.
because it's the old expansion. So you will do better overall in terms of epic cards if you buy a bunch of dragons packs. That being said,
Right,
legendary cards are an extra special drop, and legendary cards are we assign the rarity based on how many gems you spend, or really, I mean, really based on the cost of the pack. So there is a proportionally smaller chance to get a legendary card, although it's still possible, out of a dragon pack than a frontiers pack, and then out of a frontiers pack from a platinum pack. So you'll get the same number of legends on average per gem spent across each of these. Yeah, but legendaries are just bonus drops, really. They're
right,
a legendary card should really be thought of as an upgraded epic card since you use four epics
right,
to
right, right.
combine into a legendary. We could ask a trivia question on that topic.
I don't have one prepared, but if you do, then we can certainly do
We
that.
do.
We all are we going to do one last giveaway as well, or did we
Let's
have?
just do a trivia question. Do you want me to ask it if you don't have one prepared? I think we discussed
Sure.
this, didn't we? And you probably know the answer about epics
Um,
upgrading to legendaries.
oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we had talked about one of those. Okay, cool.
All
Yeah,
right,
no,
so
I have that one.
maybe the first three people that get it right in chat, give them an epic equipment box, since that tends to be the nicest prize that we give out.
Okay. So first three people to answer correctly,
Got to type
and
it
the
into chat.
question.
Please follow our channel. But anyway, you got to type it into chat, and you have to type it, I would say, correctly.
Okay, okay. Type it correctly.
So
So,
the answer is going to be the name of a card.
of a name of a card,
Okay,
and the card is the only legendary card in the game that cannot be evolved by combining four epic cards.
right. So there is a legendary. There is one legendary that you actually can't get by combining epics up into the legendary using the card combiner here in the army screen, which I will show you in the background. In other words, if I stick a couple of Hipparch Solons in here and I click combine cards, this is how one normally acquires legendary cards. I have to pay 200 gems to do it, but it's worth it if I'm a top player. Do we
Well,
have
it
people
seems
who
that
actually got
people
it right?
have the right answers. So
Okay,
the first right answer comes from Kills Occupant,
congrats.
who who in the same breath as he said, "Sigh, so bad at trivia," answered Dragon Clutch. So I guess you're not that bad. Uh,
That is correct. It is Dragon
Flightinox,
Clutch.
Flightinox, second correct answer, and Hextor76
Okay,
is
guys,
the
make
third
sure that you
correct answer.
tell JP in the chat what your username in Storm Wars is so that he can actually send those equipment boxes to you. We'll send them to you in the next couple hours. And yeah, just speaking on this topic of dragons versus frontiers, the only difference between the dragon set and the frontier set in terms of rarities They have exactly the same makeup, the same anatomy in terms of how many uncommons, rares, epics there are in there, except Dragons has that one legendary card, Dragon Clutch, which in the Frontiers pack, the equivalent of that would be the Genocide spell, which does have an epic version. So, anyhow,
Okay,
that is a
cool.
card that you can only get
Um,
in the Dragons
s-
pack.
so I unfortunately just typing in the winners to you, George. I unfortunately have to go
Good, we can
because
have coffee.
it's dinner time over here. But yeah, you guys can obviously continue without me. No, you can't.
No, we are going to call it. Thank you guys. I hope that this was informative. I think that if nothing else, it was informative as to how bad my decks are, and in a positive spin, maybe it was informative as to some ideas about different deck strategies. If you would like to ask specific questions, like the question about the high lock decks and so on, simply write it to our forums, and I'll read and respond, and so will many of our players. And we'll continue to address the issues in the game. That tournament thing will be fixed today. If you have other issues, feel free to reach out to us. And then, as usual, we will archive this video and put it on our YouTube channel. And we certainly hope that you subscribe and follow both our YouTube and our Twitch stuff. And if we become popular enough, just by the numbers, we'll get some heavy hitter Twitch people to help us out, and maybe we can advance the show or
Absolutely.
whatever that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and guys, I mean, I'm just basing the winners off of who shows up on my chat screen first, and so
Is
I
that
can't
not
do
a
much about it.
consistent? Is that not a consistent thing?
Yeah, I guess and some people maybe they show up first, and it's not quite the same on my end, but I got to go with what I see, so
Yeah, it has to
that's what I
do with
see.
how quickly it gets to the server and then comes back out.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah,
if you see other people who first of all, I always review all the chat logs before I send out prizes. And so, I mean, if you see people that you think should be eligible, then you can send me their names, and we can send extra prizes out. We sometimes do that.
yeah. Cool guys. Well, yeah, it's been fun. It's been real. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day,
Although
and
that also rhymes with
hopefully
Monday.
we'll
So
see you all for another stream next week.
yeah, we'll probably be on Saturday next week. Sunday was an exception. Uh, we won't make a habit of it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining, and take care.
Happy Storm Wars. Happy Sunday. See you next time.
Later.